Okay. I see Ms. Carrillo there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, let me go ahead and appears that Mr. Alvarado is not has not joined us today. So let's go ahead and call the case. All right. The court is calling cause number 2020 DCM 2361. This is hearing in a petition to establish the parent-child relationship of the Attorney General's office. There appears to be one minor child before the court. The parties in this case are Paul Alvarado Murillo and Evelyn Carrillo. At this time, the case is being called. Only Ms. Carrillo is present. This matter is scheduled for a final hearing today, February the 18th, 2021, initially set at 8 o'clock, as set for Zoom hearing at 9 o'clock. It is now 9:40. Mr. Alvarado is not present. The return indicates that he was served with citation back on July the 23rd of last year, 2020. And there appears to be no response filed by Mr. Alvarado in this matter, and he is not present at this time that the case is being called for a hearing. My name is Antonio Rodriguez. I am the associate judge for the Title 4D court here in El Paso, Texas, and we are appearing on this matter on a Zoom application since we cannot appear in court due to the current pandemic crisis that's going on. The Supreme Court of the state of Texas, the Council of Judges here in El Paso have permitted us to conduct remote hearings, and we're doing so on this Zoom application. Further, in order to comply with the Texas rules that we have to keep our courts open to the public, this matter is being live streamed on the YouTube channel. However, as soon as this hearing is completed, that live stream will be taken off the YouTube channel. I am recording the evidence on the computer-generated system. That is the official record of the proceedings here today. I'll ask parties not to conduct themselves accordingly as if we were in court. In other words, do not speak over each other, only one person talking at one time, but sometimes the audio portion may not work as well as it should. Okay. And those are the general rules that apply in every case. And at this time, I'll ask for announcement of counsel from the Attorney General's office. Mr. Knopf.
Douglas Knapp for the Office of the Attorney General, ready to proceed in this matter. We believe that the party not present has been adequately noticed and the matter is ready for a default hearing.
All right, and Ms. Carrillo, are you ready to proceed today, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, I'll ask you, please raise your right hand so I can swear you in. Please swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may lower your hand now, okay? All right, Mr. Knopf, go ahead, sir.
Before we get started, I would like to inform the court that due to a CSD software update, I presently have a 9-minute timer running that I don't seem to be able to stop, which will cause my computer to shut down. I'll move as rapidly as I can through the questions. I apologize in advance if I get cut off. At this time, the state would like to offer Exhibit 1, which is our updated notice, which was sent to Mr. Alvarado in this case. A copy has been provided to the court by email. This exhibit does include the cause number, date, time, relevant Zoom logon information for this hearing. To get a little bit more information on this, state calls Ms. Evelyn Carrillo. Ma'am, could you please state your name for the group?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Ma'am, could you please state your name for the court?
Yes, Evelyn Carrillo.
Do you know the name of the other party in this case?
Paul Iván Murillo Alvarado.
Do you know if he received notice of today's hearing?
He did. We called 2 nights prior to when we received the email, and I actually received a call too, and I notified him of it.
So you spoke to him directly about this hearing?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Did he indicate that he was aware of what was going on?
He did, and he advised me that if I requested back pay, he would request DNA on the baby, which is totally fine.
But he knew that there was a hearing today and it was going to be by Zoom.
And even the wife advised him too that there was a hearing coming up for child support.
Did he reference at all the email that was sent out by our office?
No, he didn't. He knew it was coming from the first notice that you guys sent out. And I have messages. He sent me a screenshot too.
And does that reflect the relevant case information, which would indicate that, yes, indeed, we were going to proceed today?
Yes.
All right. At this time, state would offer Exhibit 1 and ask that it be entered into evidence.
States 1, the notice to Mr. Alvarado has been received by the court. It does appear to be in proper form. So I'll make a ruling that Mr. Alvarado was properly notified of today's hearing.
Ms. Carrillo, just for clarity, what is the name of your child before the court today?
Alexa Jimena Carrillo,
When was this child born?
April 1st of 2020.
Who is the father of this child?
Paul Iván Murillo Alvarado.
Are you absolutely certain about that?
Yes, I am.
Could there be anybody else out there?
Nope.
Where does the child primarily live?
921 North Zaragoza, 79905, you said? Was it? Accident part of my
Who's
phone? Sorry. I don't know the zip code. I'm sorry.
Well, just to clarify, whose residence does the child live in?
Under my residence.
Who makes the major decisions for the child?
I do.
Has Mr. Alvarado ever been involved in decision-making for the child?
No.
Has he ever attempted to co-parent?
Once. Once. We tried it once, but it didn't work out.
Has Mr. Alvarado ever seen the child?
Yes, 4 times.
How did those visits go?
There, I guess we co-parent good because even the wife was involved.
If you had your choice in the matter, how would Mr. Alvarado see the child? How would possession access occur?
We came to an agreement of him having her every other weekend until, of course, I submitted a child support request, but it got to the point where, I don't know, he was no longer picking her up. I did request for him to help me out with maybe diapers at least to begin that way, and he refused. So I stopped allowing him to see my child.
Would you feel safe leaving the child alone with Mr. Alvarado right now?
Yeah.
Has there ever been any instance of family violence between you and Mr. Alvarado?
Never.
How is the child presently covered for health insurance?
She has Medicaid.
Do you have access to private health insurance which could cover the child?
No.
Do you know if Mr. Alvarado does?
No, I don't think so.
Where does Mr. Alvarado work?
He's self-employed. He works for his father's company, which is called Polo's Movers.
Do you know what he does for them?
Yeah, they move out, they move in and move out people, like their furniture and all that stuff.
Do you have any idea of what he makes at this job?
I don't.
But you do know he's capable of working.
Oh, yes.
Does Mr. Alvarado have any other sources of income besides his regular working job?
I wouldn't know.
Do you know if Mr. Alvarado has any other children below the age of 18?
Yes, he has 3 daughters.
Are those his biologic children?
Yes.
Do they live in the household with him?
Yes.
When did you and Mr. Alvarado separate as a couple?
When I was 3 months and a half pregnant.
Have you ever lived together since then?
Never.
Since the birth of the child, has he paid you any money to help support the household?
Never.
Has he given any gifts or anything that could be construed as support of the child?
Never.
Sorry, just making sure that I'm hitting all my high points here. Typical in these court orders, your contact information is included, including your home address and phone number. Would you be okay with that information being included, or would that cause a risk of undue harm or harassment?
No, no, not at all.
For these orders as well, you have the opportunity to review the order once the judge has pronounced it. Would you want to have the opportunity to review and sign off, or would you be okay with me preparing it and giving it directly to the judge?
You can just prepare it and give it directly to the judge.
All right. Since the child's birth, do you know if Mr. Alvarado has ever been incarcerated?
No,
Since the birth of the child, do you know if he's been incapacitated for any length of time?
no.
At this point, the state will rest subject to brief close and recommendations.
Okay. Ms. Carrillo, when was the last time that Mr. Alvarado visited with Alexa?
It was like 2 months ago.
2 months ago. Okay.
Mhm.
And how did y'all work that out? Did he call you? You called him, or how did they work it out?
We came to an agreement that he was gonna pick her up every other weekend because I work weekends, so he could help me out. Of course, taking care of her. And she spent the night over at his residence with the daughters and the wife, and I went to go pick her up Sunday morning.
Okay. Are you comfortable with that being the visitation schedule?
Yeah,
No.
that works.
You said, when did he pick her up?
He picked her up on a Friday afternoon after I got out of work. He picked her up.
Okay. So that schedule is okay with you?
Right. Mhm.
So how come he hasn't been seen her since 2 months ago?
Because I talked him to, I told them I was going to request child support because, now I'm the only household and I needed support from him. Now she doesn't have diapers and personal things that she needs. And he refused. He told me, he was like, if you request child support on me, and especially he's like, if you request back pay, I'm going to request a DNA test on her.
Okay. All right. Alexa is going to be a year old in 2 months, right?
Yes.
Okay. Birthday's coming up. Okay. How is Alexa covered on health insurance?
She's under Medicaid.
Medicaid. Okay. You don't have any health insurance available through your work or his?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions? I think Mr. Knopf, I just lost him.
His computer turned off.
I know. Well, um, Ms. Edwards, can you step in? Okay. All right. Well, let me see. Oh, he's trying to log back in. Okay, so we'll wait till he comes back in.
Okay.
Okay. Let me see. What was the name of his employer? Where does he work at?
Polos Movers, it's his dad's company.
Polos Movers. Okay.
Mhm.
And how long has he been working there since?
Oh, he's been working there for years.
But you don't know how much he gets paid? His hours?
I don't.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I had for you.
Okay.
Just wait for Mr. Knopf to come back.
Okay.
So you and he get along okay, even with his wife?
Yes, even with his wife.
Ms. Edwards, I'm waiting for Mr. Knopf to come back. His computer shut him down. He told me there might be a situation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Your Honor, the other party on my case should be joining the Zoom shortly, just to let you know.
Okay. All right. We're just about ready to wrap up this case.
Okay.
You said, Mammy, you don't have any health insurance for Alexa at your work?
right. I don't, not that I'm aware of, or maybe I do, but I've never really touched base on it.
Okay, where do you work at?
I work at GC Services.
Okay. Sometimes we run across the same employer, but I don't think I've run into that one.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if Mr. Kanoth is calling on the iPhone. Because somebody just signed in on the iPhone.
It's probably him.
Oh, it's definitely not Mr. Kanoth. Who he is? Can you see him on the screen?
No.
Okay. Sir, can you tell me who you are? You need to unmute.
Yes, sir, Mr. Castro.
Castor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let me, I'm going to go ahead and put you back into the waiting room, Mr. Castor.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. You are Javon Castor, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're about ready to default your case, Mr. Castor, because you hadn't shown up at the appointed time. Okay, let me go ahead and put you back in the waiting room, and I'll let them know that you're here. Okay.
Sure.
If you happen to get cut off, just sign back in, and I'll let you back into the session.
Sure.
And Mr. Kanoth is back.
There you go.
Mr. Kanoth, welcome back.
I apologize deeply.
Okay. All right. I'm about ready to finish. I had no other questions for. Do you have any other questions for her?
No further questions for this witness.
All right. All right. Based on the testimony presented here today, I will find that Mr. Alvarado Murillo is the father of the child, thereby established a parent-child relationship. On the testimony presented here today, I'm going to appoint both parties joint management conservators of the child, have the primary possession of the child and primary custody of the child. Based on the testimony, it appears that the parties are able to work together and work their own visitation schedule. The visitation will be at reasonable times and places that can agree upon. And failing such an agreement, then whatever visitation as Ms. Carrillo feels appropriate and between the child and Mr. Alvarado is fine. If we need to specify the times and dates, then somebody will have to file a petition with the court to set out may not be the standard visitation schedule because of the age of the child. Standard possession order that we order usually is for children who are over the age of 3. And there's a specialized visitation schedule for a child younger than that. So I'm hoping that parties can be reasonable with each other and work out the visitation schedule. If there was there was no geographical restriction imposed at this time. It appears that if there was a request for non-disclosure, it seems that Ms. Carrillo is no longer requesting, so that issue will not be addressed. And let me see, all right. Child support obligations, what is the state's recommendation on this matter?
State will recommend that child support be set in line with the minimum wage presumption. We know that dad's working, just not as exact wages. Therefore, inferring minimum wage would be appropriate in this case. State will recommend child support in the amount of $164 per month beginning March 1st, 2021 and monthly thereafter. State will also recommend medical support of $28 per month and that the child continue to be covered under the appropriate government health care assistance program. State will further recommend retroactive support for the past 11 months in which the child was alive, running around, incurring expenses, but for which Dad was not paying child support. Therefore, the state will recommend retroactive support of $1,804 to be paid back at a rate of $60 per month, beginning March 1st, 2021.
All right. Okay, the court will follow the recommendation setting child support as recommended, child support 164. That's based on the minimum wage presumption. If it is determined at some point later on as to his actual earnings, at that time the court can modify the child support upon a motion to modify the child support, but due to lack of any income, proof of income, we set that based on the minimum wage presumption. $4, and that also takes into account the other children that Mr. has. Medical support to cover the health insurance through the government, either Medicaid would be set at $28. We'll grant a judgment for retroactive support, retroactive to the date of birth of the child. The amount is $1,804.
Yes, sir.
Additional $60 a month. All these payments commence on March the 1st, and all payments must be made through the registry of the court through the state disbursement unit. Mr. Kanoth, is there anything else that we need to address that I haven't made a ruling on?
Nothing further from the state.
Oh, last name of the child, Carrillo. You wanted to keep it as it is, Ms. Carrillo?
Yes.
Okay. Her name remains Carrillo. All right, Ms. Carrillo, do you have any questions, ma'am, or anything else?
No.
Clarification? All right. All right, in that case then, Mr. Kanoth will go ahead and prepare the order and send it to me directly. I will sign it. The order will be filed with the clerk's office and copies will be sent to the parties. Okay. All right, that concludes our hearing for today. Thank you, Ms. Carrillo, for your presence and patience. And that will conclude our hearing, so you're free to go, ma'am. Thank you much. Be careful, be safe.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ms. Edwards? Ms. Edwards?
Well,
Guess who showed up?
yes, I've heard.
He's in the waiting room, so I don't know.
I've already spoken to him. I called him. So I've already spoken to him, Your Honor. But the case is a bit more complicated, and I think that it would be, I think we probably, I don't know if you want to get on the record with this, but I think we need to discuss what's going on in South Dakota. Because Mr. Castor tells me he's actually seeking custody there.
Okay, all right, let me bring him in. I don't have the, okay. All right, Mr. Castor, you need to unmute and. All right, Mr. Castor, we're trying to figure out what to do with your case. It has been in my court, I have been informed that you have filed an action there in South Dakota.
Yes, sir.
What is the status of that action? What is it, a divorce?
A divorce in custody.
And are the children, both children covered in that divorce case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, there's a question about jurisdiction, whether or not the South Dakota has jurisdiction to make any rulings on children that do not live in the state of South Dakota. And I think Ms. Edwards wanted to address that issue so we can figure out what to do in this case. Ms. Edwards, what is the position of the state with regard to his action or our action here in El Paso?
Yes, Your Honor. And do we want to bring the other party in for this,
Okay, well.
please?
Is she still in the breakout room?
Yes, I left her in the breakout room, Your Honor. Do you want me to get her back?
Yeah, I think it's faster because if I close it, it'll take about 60 seconds to close it.
Okay.
I'll close
If you
it.
give me, if I maybe excuse for 1 minute, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am. Ah, I think we have her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Ms. Castillo,
Yeah.
all right? And you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Castor, you can hear me as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, Ms. Edwards. There's a jurisdictional issue that needs to be addressed before, in order for me to determine whether or not we can go forward today or what we need to do.
Yes, Your Honor. So my concern is that Texas order is still in place for the child Deshaun, and we retain jurisdiction over those, over all of the issues regarding that child. It looks like Mr. Castor has filed and included a second child that no court has jurisdiction over at this time. And so arguably, I think in South Dakota, he could establish an order for that second child, but I do not believe that he's able to establish an order for the child Deshaun as long as Ms. Castillo and the child still reside here in Texas. And my understanding is that Ms. Castillo and both children are still residing here in Texas. And so my concern is that South Dakota does not have jurisdiction to proceed, at least on the child Deshaun, regarding child support matters. Mr. Castor has represented that he is seeking custody in South Dakota. And so at that point, I think my concern becomes that we have simultaneous pleadings where custody is at issue. If that's the case, then my recommendation is that the courts need to conference and determine which court is going to retain jurisdiction over the matter of the custody investigation. Regarding the divorce, I think he can file divorce in South Dakota. I think he can file divorce wherever he wants. My concern is more jurisdiction with custody and child support. And we do have simultaneous proceedings here. And once he's telling me that conservatorship is an issue, then I become concerned that the courts need to conference.
Okay. Mr. Castor, what is your divorce? Is there any hearing? Anything coming up?
There was a hearing on February 12th, and she failed to respond back to the courts. So now there'll be a trial for that on March 5th.
So you have a setting on March the 5th
Yes, sir.
on the divorce?
Yes, sir.
And
From my understanding, it was divorce and custody.
Okay.
If I may, are you representing yourself in that, Mr. Castor?
Yes, ma'am.
My concern, Your Honor, is I didn't see an indication in the documentation. Granted, I did a cursory review, but I've gone through it a few times, that there is an indication that there is already an order. So I'm concerned that the South Dakota courts are not aware that there is already an order in Texas.
Okay. Ms. Castillo, I'm sorry. Have you been served with a copy of the divorce petition?
Yes, I have the copy of the divorce.
Okay, my question is, have you been served? Has the sheriff gone out there and served you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When did you get served with the papers?
I got it last month, at the beginning of the month.
The concern that I have too, Your Honor, is I'm looking at this again, and in the petition, Mr. Castor states that he will pay child support. There's no, and he's seeking joint conservatorship. There's no indication, at least from this document that I have, that he's seeking custody.
Okay. Well, Ms. Castillo, where do the children live at this time?
They live with me and my mom and my stepdad at 10241 Kellogg Street, El Paso, Texas 79924.
All right, and The petition that's before my court today is a petition to include or to add the child Aubrey. And apparently she was added, she was born after the first order was done a year ago. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Ms. Castillo, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So the order that's presently, that the court did, this court did, back in January concerned only Jaden, and it set out child support, custody, and all that, health insurance and everything here in El Paso.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you, Ms. Castillo, have you talked to any attorney about raising jurisdictional issues on the divorce? Have you
No, sir.
made any sort of appearance in the South Dakota divorce?
No, sir.
No. Okay. And Mr. Kessler, what is the basis for jurisdiction in South Dakota over the children who reside here in Texas?
From my understanding, they're on my military orders, and right now we both have legal jurisdiction over them. So therefore, they told me I was able to fight for joint custody at the minimum. And depending on the terms of custody, if I was going to pay child support or not.
But are they aware that you've been ordered to pay support for at least one child?
Yes, I did let them know that.
How were they made aware of that?
I gave them a copy of my the petition or order of the child support that I have from Texas.
Okay. Ms. Edwards, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. How does the state wish to proceed on this matter?
I think, Your Honor, based on my review of the petition that was filed in South Dakota, I'd like to proceed today, Your Honor, with our order. I think we filed first, and I think that this is still the home state of the children, and I would like to ask the court to proceed.
All right. Mr. Castor, anything else that you wish to tell me, sir?
So with the hearing that I'm going to have on March 5th for custody and everything, you said I wanted to contact South Dakota and they will contact you about the jurisdiction of the children?
I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do yet. I'm just
Yes, sir.
figure out what your position is. I mean, I don't see how you can maintain a lawsuit for custody of the children who do not live in South Dakota, and the children still reside here in Texas. There's a court order pertaining to one of the children. The second child that is being added to the case still does reside in the state of Texas, in El Paso, and has resided here in El Paso for at least her date of birth. So I don't see how South Dakota would have jurisdiction on custody or issues concerning the child. You can file a divorce and get your divorce in South Dakota. I don't think that state has jurisdiction over the children.
So am I not in a position to fight for custody or?
I'm going to conduct a hearing on this case concerning the petition that was filed by the Attorney General. Okay. I don't see the basis for jurisdiction in South Dakota over the children. We'll go ahead and proceed at this time with the AG's motion. So at that point, then let me go ahead and swear the parties in. If I can have both of you please raise your right hands. You swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Yes, sir, I didn't hear your response, sir.
I do.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Edwards, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. The state would like to call Mr. Castor at this time.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Castor, please state your full name for the record.
Giovanni Elijah Castor.
And you are the father of Deshaun and Aubrey, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are married to Miss Castillo at this time. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I may, Your Honor, ask the court to take judicial notice of the prior order in this case, which was signed by this court on January 9th, 2020, in which child support was already set for the child, Deshawn, and the parents were named joint managing conservators. And there was a order for child support.
All right. The court order of January of 2020 is in the court file. It does appear to be in proper form. And for the record, both parties agreed on the order. The signature does appear in the order. So I will take judicial notice of the January 2020 court order pertaining to the child, Deshawn Jayden.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Castor, you have already filed for divorce, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you do that?
South Dakota.
And where do the children live today?
They stay with their mom in Texas.
And when was the last time that you were able to see them?
Back last month
And where was that?
in Texas.
In Texas. And how often are you currently visiting with the children?
Due to COVID restrictions, I've been able to. It's been quite some time.
Okay. And so right now, the current order for Deshawn is that you guys have joint managing. So you share the equal decisions, and that you have a standard possession order, but visitation occurs in El Paso when you are in leave and when you are in El Paso. And those standard possession applied once a child was over 3. So that's what's in your last order, okay? Are you still okay with what's in your last order for your child, Deshawn, and also your child, well, mostly for your child, Aubrey?
No, ma'am. I'm not trying to wait until they're 3 years old to have them come with me for some time.
And so what is it? Let's talk about conservatorship first, which is joint managing or sole managing. Are you okay with sharing the decisions for your children with Miss Castillo?
With that, if I don't agree with something, is she still allowed to do it? When it comes to our children, like medical issues or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay, because last time there was an argument about that, and I know that I have my rights as well to my children, and she proceeds to go regardless of what I say because she says that they're in her custody right now. But I know that at some point I have my right to say as well.
Okay. So are you okay with her still having the children residing with her?
I mean, not necessarily, which is why I'm trying to go to court about it.
So you want the children to reside with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think that's in the best interest of your children?
Stability, number one. I know financially I can take care of my children. There's a home, vehicle under my name, so therefore I know I could provide for them. Childcare, everything will be taken care of.
And have your children ever lived with you since they were born?
My son has. Well, me and her, Miss Castillo were together. Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
That was 2019. Can't remember the
So
month.
2019. So regarding decisions for your children, you want to be the primary and make the sole decisions for your children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you feel that's in the best interest of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
And regarding visitation, what visitation would you want Miss Castillo to have?
When it comes to visitation, it doesn't really matter to me. I will not hold it from her kids or anything like that, so I have no problem with visitation.
If you are going to visit your children, are you okay with the standard possession order?
No, ma'am. Just because I'm not sure when I can go and I can't go. So I feel like I should be able to, whenever I have the time to do it, I shouldn't be stopped from doing it.
So what are you asking of the court as far as visitation?
At a minimum, a day's notice. I guess not too much to ask for.
So right now, your order says that based on the agreement of the parties, the court orders visitation to occur in El Paso, Texas, when you are on leave and in town, and that you have to give 24 hours notice. Are you okay with that?
Does visitation include if they're able to come with me?
It means that they can stay with you, but it has to be in El Paso, Texas.
How can I change that?
I'm asking you right now what you're asking of the court.
Oh, I don't want to be restricted to being able to bring them with me.
So what do you want the court? If the court orders that she remains as the primary for the children and you are given visitation rights, what visitation rights are you asking?
Being able to take them out of El Paso.
Okay. And when do you want that to occur?
I go on deployment in March and I'll be gone for 6 months. So, I mean, as soon as I'm back. So, September timeframe.
Sir, this needs to be an order that would cover visitation until the children are 18. And so what I'm asking you is, when do you want to regularly exercise your visitation?
Starting now, then.
Okay, and when do you want to do that? We need to, usually the standard possession order has the first, third, and fifth weekend, and the holidays are rotated, or we have visitation in place if the time frame is, if you guys live more than 100 miles apart, and that turns into a different type of visitation. That's what's in your current order right now, unless you guys can reach a different agreement. So what I'm asking you is, are you okay with the standard possession order?
No.
Okay, so I need to know what you're asking of the court, sir.
I want at least a month where I could have them in South Dakota. Keep them for at least a month. I'm sorry?
What month?
I'll do September.
And when they're in school, sir, how do you anticipate that will work?
If I can get, summers and holidays.
So right now, the order, the standard possession order, when you live more than 100 miles apart, does allow you to have 1 weekend per month. And then it also allows for summer vacation and spring vacation. And you're able to extend those periods. Are you okay with that, sir?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned that you're not okay with waiting until the children reach the age of 3. Are you asking for that at this current time?
Yes, if it could be lower, yes, ma'am.
So you're okay with the standard possession order now?
That's for the 3 years old?
No, it just means that it would be in place now. You don't wait till they're 3. Is that what you're asking?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And you're currently in the military, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the order right now allows Miss Castillo to move anywhere with no regards to geographic restriction. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
How much do you earn in the military at this time?
My base pay is $21.50.
Okay. Do you receive BAH?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
The BH here, I believe, is $11.50 or $1,200.
$11.50 BAH and BAS?
$3.90.
Okay. Do you have any other children?
Just those two.
Are you currently providing insurance for your children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you do that through TRICARE?
Yes, ma'am.
And one more time, do you have any other children, sir?
No, ma'am.
No. And I'd like to introduce the financial activity report. If I may pull it up. I'm just trying to.
The financial report that was attached to the motion showed that there was no arrearage at the time of filing. Is that still?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that still the same?
No, there is an arrearage as of, well, today of 4485.
Okay, but prior
Child
month,
support and nothing in medical support.
it's confirmed 0 as of a prior month.
Well, there is also an arrearage of 4485 as of the last day of the prior month, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll get the.
Only child support was set, right? There was no medical support since the child was covered on TRICARE.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Castro?
Not at this time.
Okay. Any other evidence or testimony?
I'd like to call Ms. Castillo.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Castillo, can you please state your name for the record?
Brittany Danielle Castillo.
And you are the mother of the child, Deshawn and Aubrey, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you heard the evidence and the prior order information. And so in the last order, you guys have the standard possession order, except that Mr. Kester is able to visit when he's here in town. Are you okay with the standard possession order?
No, ma'am.
Okay. What visitation? Let's talk about custody first. The children are residing with you, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking to remain joint managing so you share decisions for your children?
What do you mean by that?
So your prior order has joint managing conservator, meaning you make decisions for your children together, but they live with you primarily. Are you still okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you still okay with being able to move anywhere?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And regarding visitation, are you okay with Mr. Castor having the standard visitation order for both of your children?
Yes, ma'am.
So just a minute ago, you mentioned that you had some issues with visitation. What are those?
I'm not really comfortable with them going when they're small. I would rather wait until after 3 for my son, and then after 3 for my daughter.
So you're asking that this court continue the continue the visitation as it was previously ordered.
Yes.
That the standard possession applies after 3?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you still want to keep in place that he's able to visit when he's in town as long as he gives you 24-hour notice?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine.
So that's what's in the order. You're okay with keeping that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have safety concerns with Mr. Castor?
I like around where he lives.
Well, are you asking that he not know where you live?
Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am.
So right now, the order says that he's going to pick up the children at your residence. Are you not okay with that?
No, ma'am.
Where would you want him to pick up the children?
Preferably if we can meet somewhere like a place, a little store or restaurant.
What place?
Between us, it would be Target. Target would be fine.
Which Target?
The one on Joe Battle and Zaragoza.
Okay. And regarding Mr. Castor's income, to your knowledge, is that all accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he is providing insurance for your children?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking for back pay for your child, Aubrey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you lived together since that child was born?
I'm sorry?
Have you lived together since Aubrey was born?
No, ma'am. I had Aubrey over here in El Paso, and we're already not living together.
Okay. And Aubrey was, how old is Aubrey now?
She just turned 1 in January 21st.
Okay. And so, are you asking, has he given you any money for Aubrey during that time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I have no further questions for this witness. If I can recall Mr. Castor for some follow-up.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Castor, you heard Ms. Castillo mention that she wants to exchange the children at a neutral location, that she does not want her address to be disclosed. Are you okay with that?
No, ma'am. Just for the fact that my mom just picked up the children as well on certain weekends and stuff like that. So I don't see why having her address would be an issue. I don't hardly ever in town, first of all. So I know for my family's reasons to pick up the kids and see them, I don't see why there would be an issue with that.
And so you're not okay with there being a non-disclosure. You think her information should be printed in the order.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that there's been, okay. Regarding the back pay, you heard her testimony that she's requesting back pay. Have you provided any support for Aubrey in the past year?
So she's asked for extra money within the past year on top of child support, and I have definitely sent her some and ordered stuff for my child as well. I'm not sure how much exactly, but I know I have.
If you had to quantify that, sir, which I need you to do, how much would that be?
At least a few hundred.
Right. Can you give me an exact figure, please?
I'll say at least 500.
500.
Yes, ma'am.
And have you lived together?
No, ma'am. Then I have one question as well. So I know somewhere on there it says something about denied contact with the children as well. That's been a huge issue because she'll get upset over something and block me, and I won't see them for about a week or have contact with them for at least a few days, a week. The longest it's been is 11 days. Is there anything I can do to protect my rights against that so I can see my kids every day?
I don't believe that's in front of the court at this time, sir.
Okay.
If I may show you what's being marked. I do have a financial activity report, Your Honor. I don't know how you'd like me, would you like me to email it to the court or?
Let's go ahead and email.
Okay. And it does show that arrearage of $44.85.
That's as of the end of the month, last month.
That's as of yesterday, Your Honor, because I will be asking for a retro judgment.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, send it to me.
So I have no further questions of the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Do have some questions with regard for Ms. Castillo. Ms. Castillo, has anything happened between you and Mr. Castor? Order was done in terms of any threats of family violence or actual family violence on his part?
No, sir.
Because the prior order did not have a non-disclosure. Your address, phone number, place of employment was included in the order. So what is that now that you're asking for non-disclosure?
It's because he's always when he does call his children, he'll talk to them, but he'll be talking to me, and he will just be like, "Oh, I know where you live. I know where you're working at," and it's just like I don't understand how he knows when he's not even here. So that's why.
Is it the same address that's in the order?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Have you moved since the
No,
last
sir.
order? And you're still working in the same place since the last order?
I'm working at Leveling Up Learning Center.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out why it is that you're asking for non-disclosure if it wasn't granted or you weren't seeking it the first time and the order was done just last year. Okay. Question I have for you, if Mr. Castor calls you and says he wants to visit with the children, um, do you have an issue with him taking the children to South Dakota where he lives?
Yes, sir, I do.
Let me get what the problem is. What is the issue that you have?
Because he does get called into work and he has no one to watch my children. And as of right now, he has someone in the house living with him.
Do you know who this person is who's living with him?
No, sir, I don't.
So how do you know he lives with somebody?
Because he has told me he has a roommate. He's living with a roommate.
Is this roommate a female or male?
It's a male, sir.
All right. When was the last time that Mr. Castor saw the children?
On the week of her birthday, January 20. Oh, her birthday, January 21st. He was here.
So last month.
Yes, sir.
How long did he visit with her, with the children?
3 days.
And where did he go with the children the last 3 days?
To his mom's.
Oh, his mother lives here in El Paso?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any problem with him visiting with the children there with his mom and here in El Paso?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions for Ms. Castillo. Anything else from either party? Ms. Edwards?
Nothing further, Your Honor. The state rests.
Okay. With regard to Aubrey, the child that's being added to the case, Mr. Castro, you have no issue that you are the father of that child, right?
No, sir.
Okay, and Ms. Castillo, he is the father of Aubrey.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll find that that this child will be added on to the case. So that's part one of the petition that was adding this second child to the case. Based on the testimony presented here today, the court does find jurisdictional basis for entering this order. The children have lived here in El Paso, have never lived in the state of South Dakota, at least since the entry of the order that was last done last year. So jurisdiction with regard to the children is proper here in El Paso, Texas. I'm going to go ahead and appoint both parties joint managing conservators of the children. That was the order concerning the first child, Deshaun. See no reason why not to include joint managing conservators on both children. No motion to modify has been filed to change the conservatorship. Visitation will be as previously ordered. Due to the age of the child, whatever visitation schedules the parties can agree upon, as long as visitation is here in El Paso, Texas. The children are too young to be taken out of the state. To find that there's no basis for a non-disclosure, that the disclosure of Ms. Castillo's address was previously ordered in the order in 2020. So not granting a non-disclosure. Let me see what else we can do on that. Okay, child support obligations. What is the state station, Ms. Edwards?
Based on the testimony provided, Your Honor, for 2 children, child support would be $925 per month. That would be effective March 1st. We would ask that Mr. Castor be ordered to continue the TRICARE for both children. The retroactive judgment for the child Aubrey would be a total of $3,336 from date of birth. If the court does grant the credit for $500 in direct payments, it would be reduced to $2,836 in retroactive child support. We would also ask that the court confirm the arrearage from the prior order of $44.85 in child support. And so the total judgment today would be $2,880.85 with a repayment plan of $50 a month, also beginning on March 1st, 2021. The retroactive judgment, Your Honor, was calculated by taking the difference in the obligation today and the prior obligation for a period of 12 months.
Tell me how the child support was calculated.
I took the base pay of $2,150 and the BAH of $1,150 and the BAS of $390, which was $1,540.
Okay.
2 children. Oh, I get a different number, Your Honor. I apologize.
That's what I was thinking, because it's about, he's earning about the same amount of money as was in the order.
I don't know if I had sticky data or something, but I get $853, Your Honor. If I may redo my retro really quickly.
What is the net that you're working with?
The net is $3,410. And I did take the BAS and BAH as non-taxable income.
So the new amount of child support is $850, you said?
$853.
$853. TRICARE. And what was the retroactive amount?
So the retroactive amount now is $2,472. However, if we reduce it by $500, that is $1,972 for the retroactive. And then if we add the $44.85, the grand total is $2,016.85.
Okay.
As of yesterday, Your Honor.
All right, child support for both children will now be, since we're adding a second child, the child support will be $850 a month commencing March 1. Mr. Castor is ordered to continue with the TRICARE for both children. And will grant a judgment for retroactive support, retroactive for the child that's being added to the case. That amount is 2016. Is that what you said, Ms. Edwards?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, I didn't hear the last part.
Well, I'm asking what the retroactive amount was.
Yes, $2,016.85.
Paid at what is the recommendation?
$50 a month.
Okay, well, I'm going to change that to 25 and also confirm the arrearage on the other case, the first case. Well, both will be paid off at $25. Also commencing March the 1st. That'll be the order of the court. Mr. Kester, you have any questions about the court's order today?
Yes, sir. If anything on the order is If she fails to withhold her end of any of the order, can I do something about that?
Sir, I didn't understand what you're asking, what you're saying.
So if she fails to uphold her end of the order, what are my actions to do with that?
If anybody does not comply with a court order, they have to file a motion for enforcement by contempt.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions, Mr. Castro?
No, sir.
Ms. Castillo, any questions?
No, sir.
All right, Ms. Edwards, go ahead and prepare the order, send it to me to the DocuSign, and I'll sign it. I want Mr. Castor to have the order in time for his hearing, which he said was, I believe he said his hearing was in March sometime.
Yes, and it's my intention to send a copy to South Dakota as well, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. All right. So she will prepare the order, send it to me. I will sign it, and it'll be filed with the clerk's office here in El Paso, and copies will be sent to the parties. Okay. All right. That concludes our hearing. Parties are excused.